So the rest of the webinar, what I'd like to do is be able to present 5 different mistakes. What did you make today? Mistakes. It's not a very clickerly approach like we tend to go, no, we present the right answer. Yeah, I'm going to give you the right option too. I never want to say to students, colleagues, here's what you're doing wrong. But in pointing out, here's what we all have done wrong, we'll probably do wrong again. What alternatives do we have in those situations? That's the take-home message. We've got choices, we've got better options. But every one of these mistakes are ones that I've made and I'm real conscious of now. So I'm gonna share with you some mistakes and some alternatives. So free feeding, mistake number 1 of the 5 that we'll talk about. So veterinarians are going to call that ad libitum, as desired feeding, food available at all times with a quantity and frequency of consumption being the choice of the animal. I find that it is strongly correlated with finicky eating. In fact, when I used to do more home visits, right, I used to see clients, especially for the initial visit in their homes, I sort of, as soon as I saw the full bowl of kibble, I could actually say to them during the behavior history, I'm betting your dog is kind of a fussy eater. And they go, yeah, how did you know? Because there's food sitting out. And of course, the food sitting out is often people's attempt to get them to eat better. And I think that backfires. So my experience is that strongly correlated with finicky eating is food is available at all times. You certainly don't have any information about when and how much your dog ate. So lots of my clients are sort of blasé about this, like, oh, somebody in the family gets around to refilling the kibble bowl that sits in the corner at all times. But yeah, as long as it's full, we don't really track how much. That just seems so bizarre to me, right? We're lowering the value of food by making it available all the time. Now, I want to make sure that you know there's dissenting opinions to this. There would be some data, especially from recent protocols for shelter dogs being adopted to decrease potential food guarding in their adoptive homes. The protocols will sometimes suggest free feeding for those dogs in order to lower the value of food. So one of the resources you have at the end of this webinar is a link to the full article, one of the protocols by Drs. Heather Mohan-Gibbons, Emily Weiss, and Margaret Slater, all of the ASPCA. Emily Weiss developed the SAFER protocol. Many of you know her. And so I encourage you to read the whole article because they're dealing with something really important. They want to make sure that newly adopted shelter dogs will not food guard in their new homes. And one dimension of their advice is that those dogs are free fed. I certainly, again, everything's a trade-off. I would say there's a cost to that free feeding. And my curiosity is it really needed to decrease the food guarding? I'm thinking it's not essential, but again, I'm not the expert in this. I recommend you read that article and understand. Sometimes veterinarians, sometimes other professionals are going to recommend free feeding. I think there's an enormous cost to that. I'm going to avoid it whenever I can. So that first one's easy. In general, no leaving food out for the dog to graze on whenever they'd like.